Hello, hello, folks. I figured it was pertinent to go over some of like the updates since we've talked last about this subject because updates are coming in and things are kind of changing from day to day, which is kind of neat because that means that like the developers are absolutely like listening to feedback when it comes to this coming update and rebalancing stuff because hey, they want to get it right. So they're tweaking things, and I think it's good if we sort of react to the upcoming changes and give suggestions for how things can be done differently, because it's not out yet. I think once the update is out, things are going to be sort of more set in stone. Then they've sort of decided on where they want to go, and then they're going to roll with that, and changing things after the fact might be harder. But now we're still in the brainstorming phase, basically. So I think now they're kind of receptive to listening to feedback from the community and taking stuff in. And so I think we have a responsibility to sort of like think this through and look at the updates and think about how would we do things differently and try to give some sort of suggestive, constructive suggestions. Like, it's so fucking easy to just look at a upcoming change or update or revision or whatever and just say, oh, it sucks, I hate it. Alright. Sure. But then what, right? It's the old adage that I've heard it before, not for Warframe, but like basically for just any game or any community at all, or gaming community, that the community is often very good at identifying problems, but they're also often not particularly good at solving those problems. So, I think it's important to not just point out what you don't like, but also offer some sort of suggestions for how you think it should be done instead. And I'm going to try to give my own perspective on that. I'm not just going to roll with the knee-jerk sort of like repeating what I've heard other people say. Because like, I want to give it some thought, and I want to see where I'm coming from with this. So a couple of updates. Since we talked last. We'll go through some of them, which I feel are worth touching on. Like the tweaks to some of the galvanized mods when it comes to like drain and stuff. I don't care about that. It's gonna be fine. I don't think that's a big of an issue, tweaking drain back and forth a little bit. But there are some other things that are changing that I kind of want to react to a bit more. Let's start with a negative, and then we'll move on to the positives from there. So they're tweaking some of the numbers on the Arcanes. Some things, with holster speed and combo duration, stuff like that. That's fine. But the Merciless Arcane, they're changing the stacks from 6 seconds to 4 seconds, which is very tight. Very tight. I understand thematically that they want to make you keep on killing things and kill, and don't take breaks between killing things. But man, 4 seconds, that is such a tight window. Like, it's sort of like, it's so tight that it sort of limits how you can build in a lot of ways, because like for one, primed sure-footed will become mandatory in your Exila slot, because like one knockdown, a single knockdown from one enemy, and you're gonna lose all of your stacks. So knockdowns just can't happen anymore. Here's my biggest issue with this. My absolute biggest issue with this, and this is something that they might not have even thought about, is that when it comes to this whole initiative, this whole idea of the Arsenal Divide, it's that they want to encourage you to use your entire arsenal. They don't want you to just use melee weapons. They want you to use primaries and secondaries and melee weapons and like switch between them, but depending on the situation and all that. But the problem is here. If the stacks are only gonna last for 4 seconds before you need to refresh them, then forget about weapon switching. That's no longer an option. You're gonna have to pick what weapon you're gonna use for this mission, and then you stick with that weapon for the entire mission. And because if you click on the switch weapon button, switching from your primary to your secondary, and then click switch back again, like that's your 4 seconds. You just lost all of your stacks. So you're forcing people into a playstyle where they can only use a single weapon. for the entire mission, which I thought was what they wanted to get away from with melee weapons. So I don't think that's a positive change. I would go in the complete different direction. I would go the opposite way. I would put the stacks at like 10 seconds or something instead of 4. 4 is just so tight. I understand that it's sure, it's easy to build stacks in the beginning, but then, you know, when you get further into a mission, it won't be that easy anymore. And the further you go into a mission, the more important it's going to be to not lose those stacks you have. Now, this ties into a sort of a broader suggestion I was going to have when it comes to how to increase diversity. And because here's the thing about weapon switching. Currently, we don't really have a reason to do it. There's a reason to switch between your gun and your melee. That's fluid in combat. Sometimes you gotta pull out your melee and kill some people who are standing close around you. And then you go back to shooting with your primary. But switching between your primary and your secondary, there's no real reason for doing that right now. If I were the developers and I wanted to really like sort of increase that, this is a bigger change. This is a bigger sort of overhaul in like how the game works. I'd create a situation where you have a reason to, or rather where you need to. I would rebalance the game a bit more around elemental damage, to be honest. And I would give elemental damage a way stronger buff against enemy types it's supposed to be good against, and a way bigger drawback against enemies that it's not supposed to be good at. We're talking, like, for example, in Deimos, how they just made all of the infested units on Deimos, like, just immune to viral procs. Like, it's so suffocating, that sort of limitation, that you just don't use viral weapons when you go to Deimos. You switch to corrosive instead. Normally you don't care all that much about that. It doesn't matter if you're fighting against Grenier Corpus infested, you just use your standard heat plus viral on everything. Except when you go to Deimos. When you go to Deimos, you actually have to switch to something else, because viral is useless in Deimos. And that's good. I would kind of want to see more of that. I would want to see not faction types, but like enemy types. Like, say, the difference between like a heavy gunner, a bombard, and a lancer. Say, but just let's toss this out, because currently that's the meta, right? It kind of doesn't matter what you're running with. Say you have your Kuva Chakur in the primary slot, yeah, and in your secondary slot you'll put, I don't know, the Athadai. You're using the Athadai in the secondary slot, bam. And then it's like just how you build them. Oh, you know, heat plus viral. How do you build your secondary? Oh, you know, it's heat plus viral. How do you build your melee weapon? Usually a bit different, because you build melee weapons for different things. You hunt for like slash procs and stuff. But if you're gonna use an elemental combo, it's gonna be heat plus viral or heat plus corrosive. That's what the meta looks like. I would want to see, say, this heat plus viral combo, have it be absolutely useless against bombards, for example. It doesn't even scratch them. It just doesn't hurt them at all. So if you have like a primary that's heat plus viral, which you probably do, then when you see that bombard, then you gotta switch to your secondary. Your secondary has I don't know, it's got radiation and cold or something, because that's super good against bombards in this theoretical scenario. So you have two weapons that are built completely differently in their damage types, because suddenly that's important, suddenly that's useful depending on which enemy type you see in front of you. Sometimes you gotta switch to your secondary to deal with that enemy, because your primary just won't even scratch it. That would give people an incentive to use their entire like arsenal and use everything. Use your melee, use your secondary, use your primary, use your arch gun, use your sentinel, build all of them differently so you can counter every situation. That's what I would like to see, because this game has struggled since day one with giving people a reason to use their secondary. They found that with the Kuvanu core, but that's for status spreading. Otherwise, secondaries have always played second fiddle to your primary weapon, and you don't really have all that much of a reason to ever pull them out. So that's kind of where I'm coming at with this, but like that's a bigger suggestion. That's a broader suggestion, and that's going to take a lot more theory crafting and stuff to figure out, but that's kind of how I would do it. In the meantime, I would say, in order to facilitate build diversity, and in order to facilitate that you actually can switch weapons mid-combat without being punished for it, you cannot put these stacks at 4 seconds. It's going to force people to stick with one gun for the entire mission and never switch. I don't think that's good. So that's my suggestion. Revert that change. Go in the other direction. Make it last longer instead. Anyway. That's my first point. Beam weapons can now put the added range mods in the Exila slot, and that is a huge change. Don't sleep on this, people. You know why? You know why? It's because beam weapons are the goddamn best kept secret in this game. Okay? You have no idea how good they are. If you haven't tried some of the beam weapons in this game, like take this, take the Phantasma. Alright? Here we go. Beam weapon. Look at this weird build I have right here, right? There's like no crits at all. None. But pretty high status chance and a bunch of different like elemental stuff in here. And a bunch of multi-shot. It's a shotgun beam weapon. I want you to understand just how good beam weapons are. So if I were to go to just, hey, classic Steel Path survival, okay, I just want to just show you. Alright, so this Phantasma here is like, for everyone saying that you can't kill people with guns as it is right now in Steel Path, and you have to use melee because guns can't kill people fast enough. Like, the Phantasma is a monster. It's an absolute monster. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. Melting everything. So, beam weapons are already, like, among the strongest guns in the game. If you were sleeping on them, I suggest you stop doing so. So, the ability to just give beam weapons more range, is that good? Yeah, I'm gonna say that's pretty good. Yeah, so that's that. You don't have a good beam weapon yet, check it out. There are quite a lot of good ones. The Phantasma is great. The Phage is great. You can go places with these weapon people. So now they can go even further. Now you got more range on your beam weapons. Pretty rad. Don't mind that. But now for the big one. They announced, Rebecca announced on yesterday's livestream, as of recording this, that they're gonna make some tweaks to Arbitrations, which is nice. That means they're open to doing some tweaks here and looking at this game mode. So hopefully we can look at it a bit more. I would like if we could. So, first up, we know what the mods are gonna cost. The new galvanized mods. They're gonna cost 20 Vitus Essence per mod. That is great. That is absolutely fantastic. That means they're not cheaper than the other mods that are in the RB store. People were afraid that we're gonna be like put at a higher level than that, at like 50 Vitus Essence, 100 Vitus Essence, something crazy. But no, it's 20. 20 is absolutely doable. Now, there are 9...
Cosmic background radiation is a riot.
There are 9 new galvanized mods, which means that in order to buy all of them, you're gonna need 180 Vitus Essence. That's it. And as you saw from my previous video, if you run with like a full set of boosters and stuff, then you can get maybe like 60 Vitus Essence in an hour. So like 3 hours if you're running with boosters and blessings and stuff. And you can buy all of the mods. Now, I'm collecting at like 5 times the normal rate with all of these boosters. So if it's 3 hours for me, then it's 15 hours without boosters. But they also announced another change, and this is an upcoming change. This is not live yet. When Sisters of Parvos comes out, they said, they're going to tweak the drop rates, and they're going to increase the drop rate from arbitration drones from 3% to 6%, which means that you are going to be farming for Vitus Essence at a much faster rate. So, if discounting the Vitus Essence that you get as sort of like rotation rewards, then you'll be looking at maybe 8, 9, 10 hours or so of farming arbitrations to get all the Vitus Essence you need. Now, one thing here is that I just want to remind you, this change is not live yet. They'll change that with Sisters of Parvos. So, if you wanna like grind in advance and have all of the Vitus Essence in advance, so you can buy all of the mods the same day that the update hits, then you're gonna be farming at the rate you're farming at now, basically. If you want to hold out and have an easier farm, you can do that later. But that's good. That's good that you're changing that, because it was a bit low. Now, there are a couple of other suggestions I've seen, and about like how we can improve the experience of arbitrations a bit more, which could be a good thing. And I'm gonna go through like what I think about them. There's like not all. I don't agree with all of it. Number one, I've seen a lot of people say that like, you want people to play RBs, don't make it sort of as all or nothing, right? Don't have just one mission per hour. I've seen people say that they want it to be more like other alerts, where you just get like this whole list and stuff, or just the closest comparison point would be, for example, Steel Path, where you have like a couple of different ones to choose from. Now, these don't rotate as often. Arbitrations rotates once per hour. The problem here, there's a big problem with this, and that is if you give people a choice between like 5 or 6 different endless missions. Say there are 6 different endless missions. What's gonna happen then is a lot of people are gonna like rotate through all of them. So they're not gonna go long. They're gonna play 10 minutes of one mission, then they're gonna play 10 minutes of another mission, then they're gonna play 10 minutes of another mission, so that you can like constantly run RBs if you get like a new one every hour or so, or like the whole list resets after an hour. What do I know? So that might be an issue if you want to go long in a public game, and you're gonna have a lot of people in your squad just extract after 5 minutes, extract after 10 minutes. Which is gonna be sort of like punishing for them. So if you include a bunch of different endless missions here on this screen, I think that's gonna hurt public matchmaking, because I think a lot of people who want to go long are gonna have a less fun experience. It's only gonna benefit those who don't want to do like endurance runs. I suggest like a version of this, and I would do it like you have with the Kuva siphons. Just do them like this, where this would require you to introduce a new mission type, which you currently don't have, which is arbitration missions that are not endless. That's my suggestion. I understand the point of arbitrations. I understand that it's meant to be a test by the arbiters of hexes, which is why it's to see how long you can go. It's a stress test. I get that. So I understand thematically why it is only endless missions. I get that. But if we can look past that and like actually try to make people engage more with the game mode, and get people to have a bit more fun with it, because currently arbitrations are sort of divisive. it's a love or hate thing. Either people like running arbitrations, or they really, really do not like it and just don't go close to them. So maybe if we can like lower the barrier of entry a bit to make more people play it, then that will bring, you know, with it more good than bad. It's my idea. So I would have it the way Kuva siphons are, where you have a bunch of normal missions, like non-endless. You have exterminate, you have capture, you have whatever, that offer limited rewards. Maybe you just get like 1 Vitus Essence per mission. That's it. And maybe there's gonna be like a couple of arbitration drones in per mission, but not that many. Something like that. Or you do them like you have, for example, in these Kuva Siphon missions, where you find an objective and you have to stick around and defend the objective for a while and whatnot, and then arbitration drones are gonna come and take it out. And then once you beat that challenge, you get the reward and then you extract, just like with Kuva Siphons. Could be something like that. What do I know? But the point is, it's limited in what you get from it. The rewards aren't as good. And then you have 1 endless mission on the list, like the comparison would be the Kuva Flood here, where you get the endurance rewards, and you get these sort of big chunky rewards for going long, and where you can really collect a lot of Vitus Essence in one go, if you want to. That would give casual players, or people who are a bit more casual, they would have another way of interacting with arbitrations, and which is like less demanding of you as a player. For smaller rewards, but they can just farm them and collect their Vitus Essence, grind it out over a longer period of time by just collecting one here, one there, one there, one there, something like that. And that wouldn't hurt the public matchmaking for the people who do want to go long and who do want to stay in the mission for like an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. They'll still be able to connect with other people who want to do the same thing. Kinda something like that is what I envision. Because I imagine then if you don't want to go long, then you're just going to avoid those missions and you're just going to go for the more bite-sized ones. I don't know. Sure, you could still get people who jump into the endless mission and then extract fast, but hey man, that could happen in a normal RB as it is right now. You don't have any control of that when you do, like, just jump into a public game. That's a risk you accept. But if the end result of this would be that, like, in general, more people would play RBs, then, and you get like a bit more varied in what you can do with Warframe, or how you can interact with Warframe, or what you can just choose to spend your time on every day, then that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing. So that's my idea. I'm tossing out that suggestion. Tweak how RBs work a little bit, and that would mean that you'd have to sort of introduce a new way for doing arbitration missions, which isn't the smallest thing. I acknowledge that. That's not just tweaking a number, a percentage point from 3 to 6. It would be sort of a bigger deal to sort of implement that. But it could revive a game mode that's currently very niche. It's only a very small amount of people, I think, who interact with arbitrations like routinely. Other people, they just go through the chore of getting what they want from RBs and then they just don't touch it again. And some people just don't play them at all. So yeah, just a bit of a lower barrier of entry to the game mode. Other than that, you know, hey man, changing it from 3% to 6%, that's good. It might sound small, but considering like just how many arbitration drones you destroy in a mission, trust me, like you're gonna see the difference quite noticeably in how fast it is to farm for Vitus Essence. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm sure we're gonna get more updates and more tweaks as they are listening to community feedback, and as they are, I'm just gonna tell everyone else, both just normal community members and content creators as well, how you put forward your idea will make the difference regarding like if you're gonna be listened to or not. Like, it's that simple. You put people in a defensive position where they just don't want to interact with you. If you just start out by saying, "Oh man, DE, bunch of cocksuckers, right?" if you start out your video or whatever by just insulting them, like, don't be surprised when they look at your suggestions and throw them in a garbage bin, because that's probably what I would have done as well in that situation. It's like you are creating a situation where you're not going to be listened to. So, keep it respectful, keep it constructive, and, just stop and think and try to pitch something that's not a knee-jerk reaction. Just give it some thought and try to come up with something constructive that they can work with within sort of like the constraints of like what's feasible for them to do. And I think you'll see the reception to those ideas be a lot more favorable. It's just food for thought, people. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to check us on our socials. We got a lovely Twitter account, twitter.com/2starplayers, if you want to see the occasional cat pictures. And we got a Discord as well. It's linked down in the description of this video. Yeah, go check it out. And I'll see you again tomorrow for something completely different.